May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, doing our best to help preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his. And anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today I'm going to continue with the daunting task of getting through every time Shunryu Suzuki said the word most important. And in the collection we have on Cuke.com of examples of when he used the phrase most important in his lectures, we've gotten through the 15th example. Some of them have some of their excerpts, some of them have maybe more important more than once. Also, this is not a complete list because it was made, 10 years ago or something. We had one podcast with the first 15 already, and I am going to continue from there. All right. Now, why am I doing this? I don't know. I think it's a cool thing to riff on, and also I am so focused now on getting the audiobook for Tassajara Stories, the first book, ready. Tassajara Stories, a sort of memoir, oral history of the first Zen Buddhist monastery in the West, the first year, 1967. Yeah. And I am going over the audiobook for the last time, slowly and meticulously. Time before this, I went over it really medium fast with the transcript or, with the book. And, I made the audiobook as I was going over the book. Anyway, I've gone over it a number of times. I spend a ridiculous amount of time on these things, but I get so into it, I can't stop, and it's Monday night here, and I like to have the podcast, my goal is to have it up like Saturday night here, so it's up Friday, or sometime on the weekend. Anyway, I finally have pulled myself away from it, and Katrinka's in Kuala Lumpur, God, it's like 9 o'clock at night now. And so I'll do this. Maybe I'll do one more part on Tassajara Stories. I'm approaching them. I'm at chapter 1. I was going backwards this time. I'm at chapter 1. So and that might be the longest chapter. All right, so what am I going to do then? I'm going to have something, an interlude or a connector between the parts. There's 20 parts. Crooked Cucumber had 20 parts, I think, and it was twice, the audiobook for it was twice as long as this. It was more like 20 hours or 21 hours. This audiobook is 10 and a half hours or something like that. So the parts are only half an hour long, which is nice. I think that's much better than the long ones I had in Crooked Cucumber. So I want to have some connector in between. Now with Crooked Cucumber, I had the bell from Eheji, and to be good, I paid Smithsonian to use it. Incidentally, that's the same bell. Eheji morning service, 1959, recorded by Elsie and John Mitchell. It's the same bell that's at the first and the end of all the podcasts. That's Our Stories is sort of all over the place. It's holy as Crooked Cucumber. So I was thinking, of having a harmonica, just a little harmonica riff, like you'll see on TV or whatever we call it. I don't know what to call it anymore, nobody watches TV. Do people watch TV? Anyway, some connecting things. Some shows will have it between parts or something like that. So there was a few times in the book where I sing a little something, and one of them is a song I wrote actually walking down the road at Tassajara, right where it says so in the book. And it's a sweet little short song, and just a little riff from that song, like on a harmonica, could be cool, like when the part finishes to segue into the next part. I thought of another thing. I thought, this book has a lot to do with students, and being in the Zendo. And we have the chanting from the Zendo. I guess we have a heart sutra. I don't know. We have a lot of chant. Whatever they recorded back then. Mainly we have the chant at the beginning or the end of lectures. But I thought, that might be cool to have something like that, or throw it in another way. But I was thinking harmonica. I don't play harmonica, but I have a friend, a woman here who does, and so I talked to her maybe about just recording a little snippet like that. And I thought of, why not produce that song just real simply? She's a good guitar player. She performs here, has been for a long time. She's also like Katrinka's doctor. She's not a doctor. She's more like a nurse practitioner. But, she's the first person Katrinka will go to about different things. So anyway, that's sort of, that's one thing I was thinking of there. But back to the point of this podcast, which is most important. All right, so let's go and see what's next here. Number 16. There's number 14. I have my screen divided so I can be looking at the recording on the left and reading this on the right. All right, so this is number 16, and it's from a October 14th, 1965 lecture of Shunryu Suzuki. Los Altos. Oh, there's my dogette Bundy out there protecting us. I don't know if you can hear her. She was out in the front barking at some, monster trying to get through the gate. The most important thing is when you practice Zazen, it is necessary to forget all gaining idea, all dualistic idea. In other words, just practice Zazen in certain posture. This is a very good point. Don't think about anything. Just remain on your cushion without thinking, without expecting anything. Then or true nature will resume its own nature, and eventually you will resume to your own nature. You resume your true nature when the true nature resumes to its own nature. And this is another excerpt from that same lecture where he used the phrase, most important twice. when he said most important, it was almost always the most important thing or the most important point. And each one of them occurred in the collection we had, which it has expanded some since then. When this was done, each one of them occurred like, I don't know, 150 times. It's so great. And I love it because, somebody will listen to a lecture or read one and go, oh, here's the most important point. All right. When there is no Buddha nature, everything is not everything. It is just delusion, which does not exist. It may exist in your mind, but actually such a thing does not exist. So even though you do not do anything, you are actually doing something. You are expressing yourself. You are expressing your true nature. Your eyes will express. Your voice will express. Your demeanor will express. So the most important thing is to express your true nature in the most simple way, in the most adequate way, and to appreciate the true nature in the smallest existence. This is the most important thing. I wonder what he was thinking. I wonder if he ever thought about that, about the number of times he said, this is the most important thing. I could just see students out there going, oh, all right, mark that one out. Now this is the most important thing. That sort of goes along with his description at Esalen of in I think that might have been 1967 when he gave a talk at Esalen. He gave a talk in 1968 at Esalen, one or the other, and which he said, our practice is to write it on the blackboard, the teaching or the truth or whatever, and then erase it and then write something else. And so that's sort of like this, huh? All right, number 17. This is from October 16th, 1965 at Sokoji. In Zazen practice, the most important point is straightforwardness, as the sixth patriarch emphasized. According to him, if we always remain in straightforwardness, we have our way, and we are expressing our true nature. One thing about him saying the most important so many times, one thing that comes up a lot with him is he'll say, well, it's the same. Which precept is the most important? He might say, well, you follow one precept, you're following them all. When he gave Tim Burkett a mantra to chant because Tim was having such a hard time in his sesshin, wasn't the only example I know of that. He said, just why don't you chant Gate Gate? And Tim said, just Gate Gate, how much of it? The whole thing? And he said, no, it just Gate Gate, Hadasam Gate. He said, but it's all the same. That it's all the same comes so many times, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Well, I just get this impression. There's so many examples of that. That would be an interesting thing to try to list all the times that, I can't figure out right now quite how to talk about it or express it. And I don't think I will try to codify it. But there's so many examples. And one I think is really interesting is once when Trungpa came to see him, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, at Zen Center. And, just came in unannounced. And in the Trungpa way, with some of his students, because, he needed students to drive and students to carry his alcohol. And anyway, so they were in the dining room. And there was a question, and I can't remember who asked who. One of them asked the other. I think Trungpa might have sent it to him, like, what's the difference between Dharma and... No. Two of the really important things, like, God, I don't know. I think it might have been Dharma and Prajna. I could go look it up, but I'm not going to. And Suzuki said, oh, they're the same. And Trungpa said, well, really, they're not the same. One is this and the other is that. Or something. Suzuki said, let me go check. Let me go to my room and check on it. And so the Trungpa student who related this said this was an example of Trungpa teaching Suzuki. Well, Suzuki knew what it was, and he was being humble, He did see things being things. He knew they were also different, The sameness and the differences coexist. But anyway, pardon me for not having the exact words, but there's only so much of Trungpa and Suzuki, even it's on Cuke.com. All right, so I'll leave that behind. Now, number 18. This was on the 21st of October 1965, back in Los Altos. Well, he's saying now, these are very close together, these lectures. He's saying most important every lecture, or quite a few of them back to back. So to say this is for others or this is for myself is a poor understanding of our life. Because of our poor understanding, we uselessly discriminate our activity. Here, the most important thing is to do something from the bottom of our heart. That is the most important point for purity, our impetus of doing something. Straightforwardness is wanted, as the sixth patriarch emphasized. Whatever you do, if you do it with straightforwardness, that is the most important point we emphasize. In this way, Mahayana Buddhism developed after the Hinayana Buddhism became more formal and rigid. Now, his use of Hinayana there, that is rude. We don't do that. That's, speaking of discrimination, I mean, he actually included the Theravadan way and original Buddhism. And he said, Zen was sort of like Mahayana with that original Buddhist spirit. And he'd say things like that. But saying Hinayana, that's like Mahayana is the great vehicle and Hinayana is the small vehicle. It's better to call the Hinayana, not use that term. Theravada is what I say, or the Buddhism of the elders. Tibetans, a lot of Tibetans will sort of one-up Mahayana on that, but they'll say there's Hinayana, and then Mahayana was even greater, and then Vajrayana is the greatest. I hear that. Some people here, friends of mine, will say, oh, but this type of Tibetan Buddhism is the highest. This is even higher than so. I hear that a lot with people with so-and-so Rinpoche, he's higher than that. Or with not about Tibetan Buddhism, about, some priest in a temple here, the Shiva Buddhist temples. Well, this type of Shiva Buddhism, Shiva Buddhism's a thing here, but there's some Buddhist influence. To me, it's just believing a bunch of stuff and Shiva and Buddha and all that. And most of it comes down to just believing things and making offerings and having ceremonies and stuff, which I am totally in favor of. Listen, it's wonderful to be in a place where a culture is held together so well by people really being into their spiritual life. It's mainly my observation, which I think is absolutely correct. It's mainly animistic. And actually, I prefer that. Because in animism, you're not believing a bunch of big philosophical stuff. You're relating to the immediate forces around you and saying thank you and saying, protect us or that sort of thing. Japan's that way, too. That's what holds Japan together, in my humble opinion. No, in my arrogant opinion, at that particular point. Okay. So, hey, here's another one from him in the same lecture, number 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times in this excerpt does he use the phrase most important. So if you have time, I think you've already been through D.T. Suzuki's work, but his Zen is, for you, especially you who are very much interested in psychology, so his work concentrated on psychological interpretation of Zen, but that is not perfect, you know. Of course, he knows about it, not perfect. Oh, God. Zen is not just psychological state of mind. Zen is based on the most important thing. For Zen is the way-seeking mind, or our sincerity or constant effort. Our constant effort will result some, psychological state of mind, but the most important thing is transmitted spirit from Buddha to us. Our constant effort, which will last forever. So the most important point for us is to acquire the spirit of practicing Zen, or to realize your true nature, or to make your effort to appease your most inmost request, or to attain vital freedom it's the most important point. If you want to attain vital freedom is to realize our inmost request. To realize our inmost request is to make your mind peace. Without realizing your true nature, it is impossible to make yourself peace. So, by peaceful mind, we mean to have eternal practice based on our inmost nature. So far, Zen practice is the best way to appease our inmost request. That is why we practice Zazen. Zen practice is not for the sake of attaining some state of mind. It is rather to practice it to appease ourselves. Very interesting. They're starting out talking about D.T. Suzuki. One thing he did there is he's going our inmost request and then to your. Oh boy, he did a lot of that, switching pronouns, and worse than that, from first, second, and third, all in talking about the same thing. It'll be changing the pronoun, the reference, whose practice it is or who it's speaking to. It's I, we, you, he. But inmost request was something he used to say back in the earlier days. You notice there he said Zen is best. People do tend to think their religion is best. But then he would say, it's the same. There we go again with the same. Yeah. He'd say, oh, well, they look different, but actually they're the same. And would he say this? I think he'd say that about any practice that he came to appreciate, that he came to learn enough to appreciate about it. But he would also just say, well, all I know is what my teacher told me, which I think is a better approach diplomatically than implying our way is best. Saying our way is best maybe is good to get people, to focus on it and not be shopping around. But one thing that is very central to Japanese culture in general is not shopping around, is specializing and sticking with what you chose, but without an idea of it being best. But then within your own group, you can say, well, this is best. But why? Just to keep focusing on it. But it's all the same. All right, here we go. I don't believe that. It's all the same can be true or false depending on where it's coming from. All right, here we are. Well, we've left October, and we're in November 1965. This is Sokoji. Almost all of you have not practiced Zen so long, but I think you have made great progress. This result is more than we expected. As I always say, for the beginner, the most important point is posture. While you are working hard on your posture, you will study many things besides your physical training. Physical training always follows mental training, even though you do not try to train your mentality. To put your mind in the right way is one interpretation of Zen, or to resume your right mind is called Zen. Samapati means to resort to the right state of mind. Another interpretation is to put our mind in the right place. Physical training will result from the right orientation of your mind. Now, what was the most important point there is posture. And he says for the beginner, the most important point is posture. But then, of course, we're all beginners because we follow his teaching of beginner's mind. So posture is very important. Oh, but look, what if you can't assume the right posture? Whatever posture you can do when you're doing your best is the right posture. Of course, not some posture some statue has. I'll tell you one thing he used to say all the time. I will read, when people talk about him or write about him, they'll say, Suzuki Roshi used to say. And then following that will be something he said one time that I know of, right? But we just tend to come out with, a phrase like used to say. He used to say, no. But I'll tell you one thing he said a lot is everybody is doing their best. He might have said more everybody's doing his best. I always naturally sort of transpose that. I've been using they for first person for third person singular when you don't know the gender. I've been using they for decades, and I'm glad I did. I was ahead of my time. That was my first woke. That was my first woke thing to do, but I don't know with the new atmosphere these days. Maybe I should go back to saying he. Well, one thing about he is it actually was gender neutral. It was using he in a gender neutral way, but they sounds good. And I remember a guy telling me, this is a long time ago, that it occurs in other languages too, that particular type of structure. All right, here we go. 65-11-11. Now, this is the Beginner's Mind lecture. I remember that because it's 11-11, and everybody knows 11-11 is a magic combination, which has great meaning. I have a friend, I'm not kidding, who read two books on 11-11. Good Lord. So sincere, trying to get to the bottom of things. Hey, Gregory, if you're there. Now I'm speaking about you. So, all right. In beginner's mind, we have many possibilities, but in expert mind, there is not much possibility. So in our practice, it is important to resume to our original mind, or inmost mind, which we ourselves, even we ourselves, do not know what it is. This is the most important thing for us. The founder of our school emphasized this point. Well, that's a cool thing to come across now. I forget. This is the quote. This is who he is to most people. The editing of that. In the editing, what is it? In the beginner's mind, there are many. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. All right, that is. In quotable quotes, you just Shunryu Suzuki, find it, or Suzuki Roshi. That's number one, and that represents him to the public like 1,000 times more than everything else combined. Wouldn't you say? Yeah, and just the title of the book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, is the main thing that people know. And, beginner's mind is such a big deal. Oh, my God, these business people use it, titans of industry. So anyway, I'm going to read this again because this is the paragraph where he says it. He mentioned beginner's mind at other times. It'd be interesting to go through and see how many times he used that phrase. Let me guess, 20 times in all his lectures, I'll guess. All right. Anyway, and this, of course, is 11/11 on the important day of 11/11 at Los Altos. In beginner's mind, we have many possibilities, but in expert mind, there is not much possibility. So in our practice, it is important to resume to our original mind, or inmost mind, which we ourselves, even we ourselves, do not know what it is. This is the most important thing for us. The founder of our school emphasized this point. From the same lecture, when we lose our beginner's mind, we will lose all the precepts. And for Zen students, the most important thing is not to be dualistic, we should not lose our self-satisfied state of mind. That's such a good place to end. We've been here over half an hour, and I want to get back to this endless task that I'm working on. And I just think that's such a nice place to end on. I want to go back and read the first paragraph there again. This particular transcript is before that tape was found, but I know the people who did this transcription, they were pretty much writing it out verbatim, but they'd make small, insignificant changes. But this would be as close to verbatim as you'd need. In beginner's mind, we have many possibilities, but in expert mind, there is not much possibility. So in our practice, it is important to resume to our original mind, or inmost mind, which we ourselves, even we ourselves, do not know what it is. This is the most important thing for us. The founder of our school emphasized this point. Okay, so it's been a pleasure being with you. I love making podcasts. I love having guests. I learned so much from them. I love hearing people talk about their lives and their way-seeking mind. I can hear their beginner's mind. And even though we don't have a guest, we have dug back into the reservoir of our founder of this lineage, the Shunryu Suzuki lineage. And we have ended at his one of his key teachings, beginner's mind, which, according to what he said right here, is the most important thing. This has been a Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from sleepy Sanur with Doggy Bandita, Feline Manis, and dear lovely Katrinka. Although she's in Kuala Lumpur right now. Urayamashi. That's Japanese for I'm jealous. And she just went with a friend who had a lot of points, has flown so much working for the State Department. She's got all these points. She paid for Katrinka to go over there. We've got friends. The woman just had to go for a visa run, So there are 2 nights. And the thing about Kuala Lumpur, Singapore is these are the 2 closest places from Bali, Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. Singapore's a much nicer, more compact, user-friendly, easy-to-access town. Kuala Lumpur is giant and sprawling, but if you stay near the center, near Chinatown and those big Petronas towers, you can walk around there, and there's a lot of pretty cool stuff. And you can stay in a hotel there. That's really nice if you want to reward yourself. You can say for she said they're paying like $65 for the hotel room. I think they might each have a separate hotel room. Yeah. Because Malaysia is cheap. Singapore, on the other hand, you pay $125 for a little room. And that was a while back. I don't know what they're doing now. I haven't been out of here. I haven't been to either one of those places in, I don't know, 6 years, something like that. So anyway, she's there, and they had lunch with friends of ours, and that would have been nice. It's just got a different flavor, and it's just Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. It's like going out into a big world. But Bali is just a little world, and especially in Singapore, you are going to a very together place. It's really first world. Although there's so much available here in Bali now, and the services are so good. It's pretty much the same as first world to me. Well, it's lacking all the guns and angry people, and extremely expensive prices, but I'll have to think about that. Okay, anyway, my whole point is I'm here with Bandi, Manis, Katrinka, and we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.